Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of De.aR Truth. I'm your host, De.aR. And in today's episode, I want to talk to you guys about taking care of yourself and why that's important. So, when it comes to taking care of yourself, you have so many different aspects. You have your health, you have your mind, you have your hygiene, you have your wherewithal, your dreams, your goals, your aspirations. All of that matters. And it's very important to take care of yourself in the pursuit of your dreams, or just in your life period. If you've settled into your personal system, if you've settled into what it is that you do in your life, first of all, I just want to say congratulations, because that's not easy to do. But you definitely want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, whether you have or you haven't, obtain your goals and your dreams. And when it comes to taking care of yourself, let's start with, with the mind first. Obviously, your mind has to be right and have enough consciousness and wherewithal to understand what it means to even take care of yourself. You know, then from there, it would depend on your hygiene, because your hygiene plays a big part in your overall health. And health-wise, when it comes to physical and nutritional health, those two are kind of like hand in hand. So I want to talk to you about your physical health, because I'm really big on being in the gym. I'm a gym rat. I was raised an athlete. I've been playing ball since I was like 7, 8 years old, and I've always kept myself in decent shape throughout my life, and I'm still on that journey. It's a forever journey. I don't think there's a perfect way to keep yourself in shape. Everybody has philosophies and theories, but I think there's more than one way to skin a cat when it comes to dealing with your health. So we'll talk about nutrition at another time, but today I want to hone in on the physical aspect of taking care of yourself. So when it comes to the physical, I want you to think about movement. I want you to think about motion. I want you to think about your body's functions to move, and the mobility of it, right? Your body is basically your vehicle. It's the thing that carries you from one place to the other. It's a tool that allows you to experience. That's where your five senses are housed: to hear, see, smell, taste, touch. And beyond that, it gives you the ability to experience new sensations in the world. So to go to a new place and see something for the first time that's beautiful and overwhelming, you have to be able to travel, and you have to be mobile to do that. You can watch TV, but it's a different type of experience to be there in person at any particular place. You also have the experience to go to different restaurants, experience food, maybe visit family, but all of that is part of motion, right? Now, a lot of people get up in age and then they're not so mobile, and what that does is lowers their quality of life. So the reason why I want to talk to you guys today is because we want to keep our quality of life high. And in order to do that, you must be, at least mobile. You must be able to at least move around. And, that's very important. So with that being said, what are some things that a person must do in order to, make sure that they stay healthy and stay mobile? And that is basically, I'm trying to get in traffic. Oh, that person let me in. Look at God. Won't he do it? Way up here too. So when it comes to mobility, I have a philosophy. So the first thing that you must understand, like I said, is your body is a vehicle, but it's made up of muscles, bones, and ligaments. And you want to keep those things in tip-top shape. to shorten that and to tell you how to do that is you got to think of your body as like Play-Doh, right? So if you take Play-Doh, I don't know if you've ever played with Play-Doh, but basically clay, soft clay, or like rubber glue, that you can stretch. You see that type of stuff, like whatever the little stretchy rubber stuff is. If you pull it too fast, it'll snap, right? If it's really cold, even if you try to pull it fast, it's really hard and it'll still break, right? So think of your muscles like that, all right? And then you have your tendons and your ligaments, which are the things that hold your muscles to your bones. Now, those are like wires, really strong pieces of fiber. Think of those like cotton that, are basically straps that hold your muscles down to your bones. Now, those are really hard. What you want to do is make sure those are lubricated, right? And the best way to lubricate them is to keep yourself hydrated. Theoretically, I think good fats like avocado, fish oil, olive oil, things of that nature is really good for that. And that's just in theory. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I use like mechanics, like motorized vehicles and robotics as an example of how the body works as well too. And I know in like joint areas, on like certain pistons and things that bend, it needs oil. So I think that the body works the same way. It's, theoretically, I just don't know. I have no proof of that. So don't quote me on that. So think of that. But you want to make sure that those areas are warmed up and they have good lubrication and that they're always in motion, like good range of motion. So those you have to be really careful with. So even more than your muscles moving those too fast, you definitely don't want to move your joints and your ligaments too fast without, slowly working those, warming those up. So that would be considered like your shoulder, your elbow, your knees, your ankles, everywhere where another bone meets another bone, like this. So these things move like that, right? So you want to make sure that these areas are, warmed up, right? So overall, let's talk about warming up, stretching, and warming up again, right? So warming up sends oxygen through the body because your heart begins to pump a lot more, sending nutrition throughout the body through your bloodstream, sending oxygen throughout the body through your bloodstream. And what this does is it warms up your body temperature, which warms up your muscles, which gets everything moving. So on a molecular level, things that are more warm move faster, right? They're more liquid. So like take water, for example. If water is a little too cold, the molecules slow down and it turns into a solid. When water is warmed up, the molecules move a lot faster and it turns into a liquid. If it moves really fast, it turns into a gas. So the faster the molecules move, the more fluidity you have. So your muscles and your entire cellular structure is the same thing. On a metaphysical level, that's basically how fast they vibrate. So you're definitely moving at a higher rate. You know what I'm saying? Higher frequency. Frequency is just basically the range in which and how fast something rotates or moves up and down or back and forth, or what I'm saying? So frequency, right? So how fast are your cellular molecules moving, right? So you want to warm all of that up. Once you warm that up, this gives it the liquidity enough to stretch. And the reason why you want to stretch is because you want to be able to have range of motion. Because when you're working out or doing anything, like if I need to get away from something falling really fast, there's your twitch muscles get engaged. And if you move too fast, too soon, and your body hasn't been prepared to move that fast, you could break something, or you can hurt something, you can pull something. So that's why you want to warm those muscles up. And that's why stretching is so important, because stretching goes beyond the normal boundaries of your normal limitations. So when you stretch beyond that limitation, your brain and your muscles communicate and say, hey, we're going beyond a new threshold, I just want to let you know everything is okay. The brain sends a signal back to the muscles saying, okay, I understand, well, I'll support you on your journey to go beyond the limits of which you normally go. And we're going to work together to get to that new level of distance, right? So you can stretch and you do it slowly, and you allow your muscles in your brain to communicate with one another, understand where it's going, and then you reach for a new destination and you go beyond that threshold. Once you surpass that threshold, your body and your mind become, they're communicating and saying, okay, we've adapted this new threshold. We understand where we at. We feel it's safe. We okay to go this far, right? So that's what it's like when you're stretching. And that's why you don't want to do it too fast. You want to take your time. You got to let your brain and your body communicate with one another to say, hey, we're going in new territory. We understand that it's safe, and we're gonna accept this, and we good here. This is our new norm. We okay in this area. All right. Now, from there, we're all working out. So we've done the warm up. We just completed the idea and the theory of stretching. Now we're about to get back to moving a little fast. So you don't want to go from stretching really slow and extending to new areas. You got to let your body and your mind communicate again and be like, hey, we're about to start moving a little bit faster. We've already warmed up. The blood and the oxygen is circulating through our body really good. We've tested the boundaries of stretching, how far we can and can't go. We have our limitations. Now we're about to do some work. So when you start your workout, you gradually get into it slowly, right? And you build up momentum. You don't want to start at 100 and try to lift or go as far and as fast as you possibly can immediately out the gate. You still will tear something up. You got to gradually prepare your body, and eventually, step by step, you start to elevate, and you're like, all right, I've handled this level. Let's take it up a notch. All right, I've gotten used to this level. Let's take it up another notch. All right, I understand what we're doing on this level. Let's take it up another notch. And eventually you'll get to a point where you go beyond another threshold physically like that. And your body and your mind will say, hey, we kind of reaching a new limit here. How we feel about this? This is about the time you start to get exhausted and you're tired, right? And it's like, all right, well, my body feels good. Mind, how you feel? Your mind probably like, I kind of want to quit, but if you good body, then I'm going to push it a little bit further. I'm willing to go a little farther. And that's the growth process of, going beyond an old limit and reaching a new limit when it comes to your physical health. And consistently doing that process that I talked about will keep you sustained for a very, very, very long time, like an entire lifetime. And you'll never run into issues with your body breaking down on you because it's so used to reaching new limits and new thresholds, going beyond those thresholds, pushing the limits of itself, understand its healing process, understand that it's capable of taking on more stress than me just sitting in the car. Hitting the gym is a lot more demanding physically than just sitting down or going to sleep. So when it's time to get active, your body is acclimated to being active. And so that is the physical part of taking care of yourself and keeping your body in shape so that you are always able to move and maneuver throughout your lifetime. Now, that same concept that I just explained, I hope it was really clear. You can break that down into each and every part of your body. So from your entire body, like your, let's say cardiovascular, so like you running on a treadmill, or you doing jumping jacks, or you outside running, or you playing basketball, you can start, say, let's use basketball for instance. As a matter of fact, let's use running. Everybody has ran before. So you may start off with a nice fast-paced walk, right? Then eventually you go into a slow jog. And this is over the course of days, maybe months. You start at a certain pace, you go a certain distance, and then that's as far as you go. You mark that off, and then the next time you either pick up the pace or you extend the distance. So, or you can do both, pick up the pace and extend the distance. Or this time you might want to shorten the distance but pick up the pace. Or you might want to extend the distance, slow the pace down, but go further than you've ever gone before. Or this time you want to go as far and as fast as you possibly can. You have so many different combinations, right? So with that same concept, use that with every part of your body, right? So when it comes to stretching, you might want to see how far you can stretch. When it comes to working out your body, you want to see like how far you can bend your hands. You know what I'm saying? Like how strong of a fist can you make? How far can you bend your wrist? How much, can you lift with your bicep? How far can you stretch with your legs? Pay attention. Take your mind to that body part that you're focusing on. Whether it's your hands, your hand strength. Use your mind to connect with your hand. Use your mind to connect with your wrist. Don't skip steps mentally and try to like work really hard, really fast to get to a goal. You got to be patient with your body, because you can hurt yourself if you try to move too fast or go too far. You want to be in control of your body. You don't want to have a destination and let the destination drive you to try to get to the destination faster without paying attention to your body. You want to keep your body and your mind, together, communicating, because you can go in there and try to like lift too much and then you'll hurt yourself. Like say if you're doing squats and you put a lot of weight on your back and you haven't been paying attention to that small pinch in your back or in your hip, because your mind is focused on the destination and the goal of trying to get, lift a certain weight or get to a certain body goal, and you're not paying attention to the little tweak in your back or in your hip, and then you get under this weight, and then by the time your back or your hip is screaming to you, it's a little too late. You know what I mean? During that time, you could have been paying attention. So that's why I'm saying it's very important. Sorry, I'm going to let that straighten out. All right, there we go. That's why I'm saying it's very important to keep your mind and your body in communications at all time when you're working out. It's very important that you stay healthy like during the process. So that's the physical part of taking care of yourself. But there's so much more to it. I definitely like talk to you about your brain, because that's the starting point of everything. To keep everything together is your mind. So of course that's what this channel is about, but today I just wanted to talk about the physical part of taking care of yourself, right? And that's just like far as mobility and staying in shape so that you can have a healthy body throughout the rest of your life. So I think I'm gonna stop it right there. We can get into nutrition at another time. I have about like 20 something minutes. Matter of fact, if y'all don't mind, I'm gonna get into nutrition, because it's really simple in a sense. Now, I'm not a nutritionist. I wouldn't consider myself a nutritionist, because I don't know the simplest form of like, on the molecular structure of what food does for the body. But I do pay attention to my own body. I'll be honest about that and say that I've had better results with my mobility, as far as being stiff when I wake up in the morning, on a very clean diet than I have on a not so clean diet. And what I mean by clean, I'm talking about more natural foods, right? When I say natural foods, I'm talking about least processed. So processed means that it has extra additives to keep it fresh, because it has to have a certain shelf life in order for companies to make their money. Totally understand that, because you can't bake bread and then ship it across country to other states and then expect it to be fresh by the time it gets there. That's just not good business. So I understand the fact that you got to add additives to your food to preserve it for longer times. Also, like, I notice I feel a little bit different with high contents of sugar as opposed to lower contents of sugar. But I also feel the difference between no sugar at all as opposed to some sugar. So it's like there's this balance to be had. So when I eat clean and like on extreme levels, like I may go straight vegan, right? I mean, like no dairy, no eggs, no butter, no cheese, all veggies. Try to cut down on like, processed veggies, like Impossible meat and Impossible nuggets and stuff like that. If I just cut all of that out and I eat clean, I drink a lot of water, and I'm making sure that I take in nutrition often because it burns a lot faster. Calories burn a lot faster when you eat clean like that, and this is because I guess the body doesn't have a lot to break down, so it's easy to burn off those calories. And so if I can maintain my nutrition at that level, man, I'm telling you, I wake up like, I don't know, feeling really great. On the opposite end of that, if I eat a lot of junk food, a lot of sugar, a lot of burgers, especially like pizza with a lot of cheese on it, I noticed that my joints, like my neck, my shoulders, my lower back, knees and stuff feel stiff. So that's like just what happens for me. Even if I'm working out or whatever, and I have a clean diet, I still wake up the next day feeling very loose. My ligaments, my joints, everything is like moving really well. But if I don't eat so clean, I eat a lot of processed food, a lot of cheese, I feel nasally, congested. I feel really stiff in my joints. There's a little pain there, you know what I'm saying? I feel like, man, I slept hard. So, they're about to run into me a little bit. Yeah, so that type of thing, So nutrition is like very, something important that we need to pay attention to. So something I want to talk about when it comes to nutrition is pay attention to the signals in your body. So like, see how I was able to express like, when I eat these foods, I feel this way, as opposed to when I eat clean, I feel that way, right? So these are things that you need to pay attention to. There's been times probably where you've been eating something and it tastes so good and it feels like it's so good. You know what I'm saying? You eating that food, but your stomach is full. But you got a plate of food still in front of you. You feel compelled to probably eat your food, maybe because, when you were a child, you were, told you better eat all your food that they put in front of in front of you as a child, which, side note, I don't agree with. I think a child has its own body and its own mind. I promise you, if any living creature, a child, adult, a human being, a plant, I said human being, a child, an adult, a plant, an animal, if it gets hungry enough, it will eat. So I promise all the parents out there, if your child doesn't eat, it will eat. Don't force food on your child. That's traumatizing. Don't do that. They need to go play a little bit more, and I promise you that child will eat. That baby will eat. So don't force food down your kid's throat. Now, you can be selective about what they eat, but don't make them eat. So the next thing is, like, when you're eating and like you got a plate of food in front of you and you eating a lot and you start to feel full, but you force yourself to eat, like you feel that you're forcing yourself to eat that food. It's uncomfortable. And then you sit back and you bloated or whatever. You feel like, man, you just need to lay down and you need to sit down. I think that's, in my opinion, I think that's overeating. Because you couldn't get up and be functional right then at that moment. You have to wait for that food to digest. And that's causing some type of stress on your digestive system to have to work that hard to digest that amount of food, right? It's not easy, it's not comfortable. So imagine you working your job in an uncomfortable, overstrained, overstressed situation where your digestive system has a mind and a system of its own. That's why it's called a system. It works. So if you put that much stress on it, it has to work hard. So you're stressing it out. Also, when you overconsume things like alcohol, or, if you're a drug taker, if you overdo it and you feel sick, it's because, your body's working hard to balance out the enzymes in it when you intake all of these things that you intake, like when I used to drink and when I was, younger and in college and stuff like that. And I noticed the next day I would feel a little groggy, feel a little sick or whatever. And I think that's, it was hard for me to function. It's hard for me to feel good throughout the day sitting in class with a hangover. I can't focus. I can't read. My stomach's feeling sick. I may have a headache. Like, it's hard to function like that. That's causing your body stress. You're stressing out trying to think. your body's stressing, trying to send the right enzymes to balance out your hormones so that you're balanced out throughout the day. So that's extra stress on the body. It's hard to function under those circumstances. So when it comes to nutrition, the best thing I can tell you to do is pay attention to your energy levels, right? Eat things that allow you to function at in a high rate. If you can function highly after eating certain meals, then pay attention. Document what it is that your body loves to eat that allows you to function at a high rate, right? So for me, it's eating clean. For me, it's making sure that I eat. I have a high metabolism. If I don't eat, like, my body will eat up all the food in itself and it start to feed on itself, and then I get angry and frustrated while I'm hungry. You know what I mean? So I get very hangry. So I must eat, and eat well enough to balance myself out. Also, test your body out and see how long you can go without eating before you need to eat. Those are things that I think you need to know. Like, I was testing myself out when I was working for myself because I couldn't take a lunch break. So I would bring lunch, but sometimes I would bring lunch and then I would eat my food a little too fast. And then throughout the rest of the day, by the time, it's getting busy, I'm hungry and I'm not balanced out. So I did an experiment on myself to test and see how long can I go without food. Try fasting. You got to experiment with your body. Everybody's different when it comes to nutrition. I've seen people who are vegan, I don't live with them or, watch them on a day-to-day basis, but they swore to God that they were vegan, and I watched them be overweight. I've watched people who eat, anything they want: pizza, burgers, French fries, nuggets, chicken strips, like fried chicken, whatever, and be as skinny as a stick. You know what I'm saying? And healthy. I've seen people who eat very clean and eat very healthy. I've seen people who eat clean and healthy like that have very tremendous health issues. You know what I'm saying? Like crazy health issues for people who eat really clean. So that's why I'm saying I'm not a nutritionist when it comes to that. I think that the mind and the body plays a big part on what you eat and where disease comes from, like dis-ease. If you break that word down, like, I think your mind plays a big part on your health overall. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think it's all about what you eat. I think it's about how you think as well too. But definitely pay attention to what you consume, specifically for your energy levels, so that you can be active at times when you need your body, because your body depends on the fuel that you give it. So just pay attention to your body. Start experimenting. Start seeing how you feel when you wake up in the morning. See how you feel if you don't eat. See how you feel if you do eat before you go to bed. See how you feel if you eat breakfast in the morning. See how you feel if you don't eat breakfast in the morning. If you're one of those people that say, I can't eat breakfast and it's been years since you ate breakfast, then try to eat breakfast. So all I do is, ask you to do is just experiment with your body. Try different, nutritional diets out. Maybe you want to do a cleanse. Maybe you want to do a juice. Maybe you want to start implementing juice. Maybe you want to do a keto diet. Maybe you want to go vegan. Maybe you want to try a liquid diet. See what works for you best. And if you have any, thoughts about nutrition and fitness, I would love for you to leave a comment below. I'm always looking to engage with people. This is a brand new channel. And, we're building it up, one video at a time, day by day. So for those who did watch, I want to say I thank you so much for watching. I hope you got something from this video. I hope it was informative. I hope you had some takeaways. And as always, guys, I ask that you be blessed, find and seek happiness in your life. And I'll see you on the next video. Bye.